was pure childish, it says in the headline. You can't really see the phrase pure childish written anywhere unless you read it in Gerlach Nan's voice. So it's fitting that that is the headline on this piece.
I was going to say, I actually have now started to read it in Connor Sketch's version of Gerlach Nan. It's like, I mean, it's impossible now for me to read certain things and not hear Donald Trump's voice. But I'm getting to the point now where it's like Conor Moore is reading this in my head.
Yeah, and I like whenever I hear something in Donald Trump's voice, I'm kind of going a step above and actually seeing Sarah Cooper's face, but Donald Trump's voice when I read something that Donald Trump might say. That's kind of the step that I've gone to. You've got the spread there in front of you. I'm just going to read out the first couple of paragraphs here. There are 85,000 country singers in Ireland. That was the opening line of a song that was a parody on the mind-numbing blandness of so many of those self-pitying country and Irish songs back in the day. Well, it would seem that even that number has been surpassed by the number of epidemiologists on our little island. So if you're giving out about how the country has operated over the last little while, how NEFIT has decided to advise the government, well then, you're just a country singer. You're not an epidemiologist. Put away your fake degree and stop giving your uninformed opinion, basically, is what Gerlach Nan is saying. He makes a lot of valid points, in fairness. He's certainly of the view that the GAA probably shouldn't have been doing this in public, shouldn't have been issuing that statement 2 days ago. And he has a great line from Nicky English, which I actually hadn't heard before.
No, me neither.
He says that the first thing you should do before doing your post-match interview after a game is do a lap of the field and then do your post-match interview to cool the jets a little bit. And he reckons the GAA should have done a lap of the field on Wednesday night or on Tuesday night.
2 laps. Whoever came up with that GAA statement should have done at least 2 laps of the empty stadium before rewriting the whole thing. It should have finished by reinforcing support for NEFIT and the government's message that ensuring our young people go back to school transcends all other interests. He makes the point that, do these people not realise how lucky we are in the GAA to have any games at all, especially without any testing of players? Like, you kept making the point, right, that we were going to be well ahead of the curve, having people at matches, and we're all watching European football, we're watching basketball, we're watching golf, professional sports where there are thousands of tests, tens of thousands of tests being carried out on the protagonists. And we're like, sure, come on in and watch the games, lads, no testing, who cares? A bit of social distancing, cough in your sleeve, you'll wash your hands, won't you? I mean, helpfully, the Star have produced 3 pictures to go with the Lough Nan column, where maybe they're all in the same family unit, I'm not sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 women, all of the same age. Maybe it's the same ma. I feel very sorry for that woman if she had 15 girls the same age, you know, like just physically it would have been very difficult. Fair play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 middle-aged men sitting, their elbows touching, in what looks like a press box or something like akin to it, where there is a corrugated roof. Again, whatever parents gave birth to these middle-aged men back in the day and have raised them, they've done a great job because they're a very close, tight-knit family. Well done. Congratulations.
Would none of them not flee the nest and leave the household, no?
And then there's Kilcoo fans during the Down Senior Football Championship match at Park Esler and Newry, and they're in bleachers and they're just sitting side by side. Like, so the whole notion that this has been perfectly handled by everybody in every ground is fallacious, just not true. And then the point that he makes is like, we have games. We have games, it's a brilliant thing. If we didn't have games, it'd be a complete disaster. And now it's like, you get over here and you tell us, you give us the proof. It's like, okay, well, here's one photograph, here's another photograph, here's another photograph. And this is Lough Nan without the access to the information and the knowledge and the science behind it going. Now it's obviously the people in the Star have done that. But does it not make sense? There's going to be no testing. Like,
I definitely felt the other night that certainly the tone on social media, which I know is not the greatest thermometer ever, but it definitely felt that the tone was that sport had been called off. That was kind of the feeling you got, that there was the doomsday scenario, that actually your games have been cancelled. It's not the case. They're still going ahead. Well, and like while I disagreed with you on your GAA point yesterday, and I still do, I'm still kind of I still don't totally disagree with what the GAA did. I still think it was actually a fairly impressive thing to do. And actually, if they felt that they were being wronged to some point, to actually go out and defend themselves then I think that's a great thing to be doing. But regardless of that, at that point, I like what I said a couple of weeks ago. Like, it is mad that the first sport that we have been watching with fans has been the GAA, isn't it? Like, you turn on the Premier League, no fans. Turn on the NBA, no fans. Turn on
Champions
the
League.
boxing in Eddie Hearn's backyard, no fans. You turn on Ballymun against Thomas Davis, there's fans. Like, that's incredible, really, that the GAA was the first one that we saw with fans. Like, you can skew that both ways, saying, well, that's great for Ireland, we're getting ahead of it and kind of trying to get the community involved in the games. But what we've done is we've come back to the pack now. We've come back to the level where the Premier League were during their restart, which was such a success. So I agree with you on that point, that we should be happy for what we've got. And I agree with Loughnane on that point. I still disagree with the whole press release argument, but we should be happy that we have this. And this is my opinion when it comes to the championship as well, that we should be happy to have the opportunity to have a championship behind closed doors. It seems that a lot of people who want the championship called off at this point are now voicing that opinion over the last 24, 48 hours, ever since the announcement on Tuesday night that we wouldn't have fans. Why does that change your view?
I don't know.
Why, like, what? I don't know. Why do we need to call off the championship if we don't have fans in there? Like, there is still revenue to be made. Like, there is the empirical evidence of your coffers being bettered by the progression of a championship behind closed doors. Like, you will get more money, GAA, if these games go ahead from TV rights. It won't be anywhere near the gate receipts, but it's something. And I just don't think that the argument that because there's going to be no fans, we should call off the championship holds any water, to be honest. I think behind closed doors championship, and I think Loughnane is actually making this point as well, is a more than valid thing we should be looking at this year.
6 months ago, we wouldn't even contemplate a championship without supporters, but it's amazing how quickly we've adjusted to the new reality. One other quick point that Loughnane makes. The one overriding consideration here is that children and students must return to school and college, and all other considerations are secondary. Sometimes we in the GAA are guilty of being overly precious about the organisation, as if there were no other sports or groups who are doing just as good a job for their community. So I think this is an excellent column from Loughnane. The pictorial evidence that goes with it will just point out that, like, I actually thought that the statement went far too hard on one individual in particular. And
can I sorry, go on.
And I just think that, like, this becomes personal. And if you're playing a long game here, right, where the government have already said that they're going to give 30 million of taxpayers' money at a point when taxpayers' money is dwindling, like we're mad into the red already to try and keep people in jobs and to try and keep the economy going, and they've siphoned off 30 million for rugby, GAA and soccer. Is that the time to pick the fight publicly with the government? Pick the fight with the government and with NEFIT privately, and then send out information through your network, because you've got this massive network. But to do that publicly, I just thought was a misstep, an unusual misstep. And it's interesting that Loughnane says it's knee-jerk and precious.
In fairness, I did make that point yesterday. The GAA do need to be careful because of the fact that funding is not guaranteed yet. Like, I mean, we heard from Niall Quinn a few weeks ago saying that their COVID payment is not guaranteed because they need to actually pass the memorandum of understanding. So there are conditions for the other sporting organisations, and I'm sure that the government can do a U-turn on that. So I accept that they do need to be careful on that point. But the empirical evidence that we're supposed to be given, or that Ronan Glynn says exists, and just to clarify, I'm sure it does exist. Like, there's no reason in a million years why it wouldn't exist if he says it does. But it's about the travelling to the games and the congregating around the games. So the pictures we're now seeing in the Star, for example, today about people together at games, would that worry Ronan Glynn more?
I'm sure it would.
Is he now looking at that saying, oh my God, it's not just the evidence of people travelling to games, it's what's happening at the games as well. It's a double whammy. Or is he looking at those images and saying, well, actually, we haven't had any reported cases from what's actually happening at the games, and maybe people congregating at games actually isn't as detrimental to the uptick in figures? I don't know. Like, obviously, I don't know what he's thinking of that. I assume it's the former. I assume it worries him a little bit more. But let's not lose sight of the fact that the reason why the crowds have been abolished at sporting events is not because of what we're seeing in the Star today. It is because of people travelling to games and congregating outside of stadiums together.
Yeah, look, at the same time, the whole notion that everything has been handled perfectly just doesn't bear, those
Fair
anecdotal
enough.
pictures would actually give the lie to the whole notion that everything has been handled perfectly, wouldn't they? Don't you at least accept
Fair
that?
enough. Like 100%, and that is like you don't want to see that. And in fairness, that has been mentioned where I see people saying, "What empirical evidence do you need? If you just throw on TG Cahir and you can see the clusters of people sitting together in the standing games, you know." And like I get that, that's fair enough. It's just that the reasoning was not that thing. The reasoning was the transport to and from
Yeah,
games, and I
sure.
realize I'm being pedantic on that front. I would just like
I
I
think
guess
your best point was actually the original one that you made weeks and weeks and weeks ago. It's like we're ahead of the curve here, and so we've come back to the pack. Like, and that was always going to be a possibility. That was the whole point, was that what we're doing here is we're giving everybody a little bit of rope, we're learning a little bit from it, and then we will adjust on the fly according to that. Now, the communication has been horrendous around this. It actually took him, yesterday he went out and did a video, like a 7.5 minute video where he went through what empirical evidence he had and tried to explain it a little bit. Not going to be enough for anybody, but he seems to be the one reasonable communicator that there is at the moment. And again, I don't think they've done an amazing job the whole way through. I thought they've made loads of fairly incongruous decisions. But up to this point, like if we're now going to split, and Loughnan's other point is that by attacking Neffet and singling out an individual, you actually weaken their ability to bring people with them into the future. And he says that the organisation needs to row in and say, yeah, okay, actually, you know what? Okay, this is a tough moment, and we're doing our bit too, as opposed to let's take off the gloves and go to war. Okay, go to war, but like you're going to war with the people whose job it is to keep us safe.
And I guess there is a fine line between showing brilliant representation on behalf of your organisation and at what price does that representation come. Maybe the best representation is actually keeping your mouth shut. I
don't think you have to keep your mouth shut. I think you like absolutely, you know, make statements and say, look, we have some questions. We'd like a bit better communication here. It's actually the government making the decision. Neffet make their recommendations and the government makes the decision. You know, if you're going to pick the fight with the right people as well. But again, the government are out to give you 10 million. So do you pick a fight with them at all? I don't know.
Actually, can I just one last point on that? Let's not forget that the GAA has a COVID committee as well. Like, I mean, maybe they're being advised by their COVID committee on before, like I'm sure before they make a statement like that, they're bringing up the COVID committee and saying, what do you think about this? Is there an inconsistency? There is an inconsistency. Right, we're going public. It's not just John Horan at a laptop. I feel that this is a disgrace sort of thing. I'm sure this has been thought through on their end as well.
087 918 180 is the number to WhatsApp here. If you've got anything that you want to get off your chest, feel free. We'd love to hear from you.